Welcome again to our podcast SciArt Talks, a project from the Art and Science Center at ITMO University, where we try to foster interdisciplinary dialogue between artists, curators, scientists, makers, and more people in the science art sphere. Today we have a very special guest, is the head of our master program, Dimitri Ozerkov, an international curator and the head of the State Hermitage Museum Department of Contemporary Art. And during this conversation, he explains to us his journey into science art and the main challenges in this field for curators and artists. So please enjoy his perspectives and suggestions for the artists and curators of the world. Stay tuned. You are in the international big scene of contemporary art and you work in the Hermitage, one of the most important spaces for art. So tell me please, how was your journey into contemporary art, into science art specifically?
It's gradual development. For me, it all started about 20 years ago when I went to the Hermitage, and Hermitage didn't have proper program for contemporary art. The Hermitage was showing some contemporary exhibitions, but the problem in the museum was that the museum wanted the progress but couldn't properly organize it because the old curators doing classical art hated contemporary art and didn't want to show it. Otherwise, the young people who were there didn't have the enough level of responsibility and enough level of participation in the museum activity, so they couldn't lead the projects for contemporary art. In the Hermitage, we have the keepers who keep the collection. And that means when the exhibition comes to the museum, somebody had to personally sign for it and keep it. And so the keepers, that are the blue blood of the museum, are mostly people who are educated in classical art, who don't understand contemporary art, don't want to understand it. So it all started with this strange situation when the museum has to accept something that is accepted around the world in the art sphere, but not accepted in the classical museums. It was 2000 at the same time where Louvre and National Gallery and other big museums started to do something with contemporary. So this was the first challenge and the first shift. And then when the art and science came into life, I, of course, got interested in a general interest for the things and started to know what it's all about. And this subject, art and science, is kind of general and vast, and you can find division into many sections and versions and so on and so on. So I knew about it and I was interested, and I kept reading about this new development, as I do read about everything that happens in contemporary art. So when ITMO University was starting their program, they asked me to lead it because they needed somebody who is established in contemporary art to open this new chapter. And I had some kind of long thinking, because I said I'm not really a figure in contemporary art and science. I know something about it. I know kind of about it. And the point is that I'm not really probably the ideal figure to lead it. But then we discussed that basically arts and science combines this very program, because I represent art coming from the best museum of the city, and the university represents science, having all these laboratories. And then we saw that, then I thought that this can be the answer, that the very structure, the very core of this program will be created there when I will meet people from the university, real technicians, and they will meet me, and then we will bring people, the students, the first generation of art and science program, who will be also referring to this and that, asking questions, staying in between, visiting labs and museums, and then we will create something new. And on the Russian material, on the Russian subject that is always very much thinking of, the fate, the soul, and so on, it will take its own shape. So this is how it happened.
I see. Well, it looks like a very good combination of elements to investigate art and science projects. But regarding the journey of science art into the museums, I remember last year you created the exhibition Artificial Intelligence and Intercultural Dialogue in the General Building Staff of the Hermitage, and it was dedicated to the creative capabilities of artificial intelligence. We saw their algorithms creating speculative language or speculative portraits. I recall the artwork of Quayola, The Machine Hallucination, based on thousands of photographs of Gothic and modern architecture, and it was very impressive to see these kind of artworks in this specific space. So what is the difference between curating science art exhibitions and classical art exhibitions, for example?
I would say that when we curate art and science exhibition, we start thinking about technical things first. So energy flow, water, not water, sound, not sound, biological stuff, dangerous, not dangerous, how we will protect artworks from the people, how we will protect people from the artworks. So both sides. And we start the whole scheme of the exhibition not basing from the space, not basing from the image that exhibition will have, but we start with the safety. In the exhibition you mentioned, the problem was there was lots of computers and lots of equipment. So it was very hot. And this space didn't have special art and science equipment to get the fresh air in, to ventilate the air. So we had really to deal with this question hardly with architects, how we will find the way to ventilate the space. And at some hot days, in where there were a lot of people, you could still feel it, that it was kind of hot. So every art and science exhibition starts from this. When the safety questions are decided, we go to messages, we go to power of display, we go to aesthetic questions of the exhibition. And I think that's a big difference. When I'm doing a classical exhibition of contemporary art, I'm starting with the power of display and the message. I'm starting with the fact of how I will deliver what the artist or the group of artists want to say, and how I will place objects, light, and so on, and what will be the flash view for the visitor that comes in the room. But here, in art and science, the first thought is how I will not damage, how to make the contact between audience, artwork, and the museum workable and safe.
Right. That's really important. And from your perspective, how are artists using these new technologies as AI or robotics when it becomes art, and why these artists get attracted to this new technology?
Well, my feeling is that every new type of art, every new style, trend, formula of art, first of all, questions itself in order to define its own borders. And I think the IA and robotics are now in this phase by understanding where we are and who we are. What is only robotics, tough robotics, and not yet art, and what already is becoming art. So when the system is doing strange things like analyzing itself or doing something like stupid movements, or movements that leads to nowhere or cannot be adapted to anything, that when the robots drill the hole that nobody needs, so this, I think, is being formulated as the area of art. Basically, I would say this is a kind of apophatic way to define art. So what is not real work, what is not real task of the robots, what is the leftovers, it's kind of art, And I think this definition is where the art and science birthplace is. Like the leftovers from the practical thought and practical work of the AA and robots. What are the leftovers? Some strange movements, some unexplainable combinations, some funny correspondences. This all creates this area of art. And I think that this is probably the very beginning. I think the future will be to re-question these areas and to rethink the practical tasks of robots and IA. And this will redefine and develop the very concept of art and science.
Absolutely. And you're mentioning the challenge for curators and artists, but what are the challenge for the museum as an institution? The new spaces, where the new exhibitions will happen? What is the future of museums from your perspective?
In 20th century, in the late 20th century, in the 21st century, the subject of context is very much important. So we don't no longer think about art objects. Art object, art idea, it's only the beginning of the final artwork. If you have an idea, it's okay, it's great, but then you need to see how you embody it and where you show it and how you make it visible. So all these questions refer very much to the context. And now it's very important where we show this, how we represent this work. And in this case, it is very important what is nearby, what is behind, where we show it. Are we showing this in the church? Are we showing this in the factory? Are we showing this in the public space, private space, and so on and so on? So I think this is inevitable, and this brings the curators on board, where we need to create this context and to establish the power of display where the context makes part of. So I'm sure the future is to make exhibitions everywhere and to turn any space into the exhibition. There were exhibitions in the subway, in the churches, everywhere, airports. And I think whatever space you can think of, or lack of space you can think of, is the new area for the exhibition. I'm sure that's the curatorial thought of making exhibitions where they're supposed to be is crucial. For the arts and science, of course, you are supposed to come to the areas of the real production, a real existence of the material you're dealing with. You go into the factories, to the laboratories. That's kind of obvious decision. But then I would say you should come to the ideas of something absolutely critically new. You should criticize these institutions. I'm saying the next phase would be when art and science would criticize the art and criticize the science, when it would be critically attacking the laboratories and critically attacking the museums by saying that you are wrong representing what it's supposed to be represented.
Right, I think it's very interesting seeing this evolution of the spaces. But also it makes me think how attached we are to this physical space. And now in the times of pandemic and coronavirus, well, we need to create new ways to express and to make exhibitions. Now there is a lot of online exhibitions and everyone is talking about coronavirus. And I think artists will be talking about it.
No, I'm sure next couple of years, everybody will be talking only about this. Philosophers are already writing their books on coronavirus. Artists are creating their projects, and the first things are already there. We're working now with a Chinese artist, Zhang Huan, who is making the next exhibition in the Hermitage. And he just created the diary of coronavirus, and we published this diary yesterday, part of it online. So it's already there. And this subject will be everywhere. I'm sure the next Venice Biennale will be somehow about this isolation and being alone and still keep working and so on and so on. So this is inevitable because art is very fragile and it reacts to everything that happens in the society. It's so much fragility in instability that is in art now. So that's the only way to survive, to keep commenting what's going on in the world.
Right. And we have here one question. If you are excited to see some new technology, if you're excited to see how artists use this new technology or how they reinterpret it?
That's a good question. It's hard to say. I'm Now, I would say that I can answer in this way. I like when I don't simply see the technology, but when I see the technology playing a very strange new role, and when it delivers the artistic message. I like when the artist uses the technology, and I don't like when the technology uses the artist to represent itself.
Okay.
And we often have the technology being when technology using the artist to illustrate itself, to promote itself. And that I don't like. It happens often when a company discovers something and they said, okay, we created some strange product, we have to sell it. But then nobody wants to buy it. And how we do with this product? They say, okay, I have a brilliant idea. Let's invite artists. We select 5 artists. We give everybody lots of this product. And they will do something with this product. And it will be visible. We make an art exhibition. Then we bring all our customers. They all drink champagne. And then we sell it. And that I don't like,
Yeah, I agree. Yes, and personally, I think it might feel like a corruption, like a corrupted soul of the artist. But okay, we're talking about the artist and relationship with curators. So let's continue with this. What is an artist, or what is the artist of the future?
First of all, artist is a professional. Second of all, artist is having its own ability to produce and to deliver. And third of all, artist is a growing and developing personality. For me, artist is a personality, so it is not artificial intelligence, first of all. And it is more than a biological presence, is kind of thinking unity. It's a unit that thinks and looks around and compares and makes conclusions. So for me, artist is a personality. Then does artist respond to the current situation in the world, or the artist simply delivering what is in his or her mind? I don't care. What is important for artists is to be a personality, to be responsible of what he or she does. This kind of responsibility is crucial, to consciously know what you are doing and why. And you can explain and you can answer for your production and ideas.
Thank you. I think this answer really makes us think about how it works as an artist. I think in general for everything we do. And what about curators? Who is a curator in the future?
Well, the work of curator is becoming more and more complicated because the curators is the profession that helps artists, that serves artists. Curators are, very dependent on the artistic thought of how artist changes his or her mind, of the conditions of the museum directors who have their own views of the museum, of the public call, and so on and so on. So I think the curator is now very much dependent of everything. And the curator's work is very hard because you have to really make everybody happy in a very short time of museum preparation. So I think the curators have to be more independent and have to be absolutely free thinkers. The good scenario for me is the evolution of the curator into the philosopher, into the visual philosopher. And curators who create their projects based on collecting artistic thoughts and philosophical thoughts from all over the globe. For me, the good curator is this kind of figure that is absolutely independent in quoting. We don't have to refer to the copyright, pay the copyrights. We have to be free to quote. We don't use the artwork for us. We're quoting them for our thoughts. It's part of our intellectual world. And that's for me the crucial way. The worst scenario is the curators are becoming just slaves of the art industry. That can include both galleries and the artists, studios, use the curators in order to create something looking like the final product.
Those are interesting scenarios, depending a lot of the system too. But when you're working with an artist and you see that they are having a crisis or the artwork is not as strong as you expected, how do you approach to work with them?
Well, I always when I work with an artist, I always say, what you have done absolutely bullshit. You better start from the beginning. I think we have to be absolutely open heart with the artist, because if we don't say it, nobody say it, and the artist will live thinking he's a great artist, but he is not, or she is not. So I think that we have to have the fair play. If I like the work, I like it, and I know I like it. I say I do like it. If I don't, I don't. And it's my problem. Sometimes I like a work of an artist that I come to the studio and I revisit the artist, and I don't like this work any longer. I like another work, or I don't like it at all. It can change. We're all humans. So what is important is to say, to pronounce, I like it because of this, or I don't like it because of this. And this will help. I'm sure it will help the artist. If the artist doesn't want to hear this, he will not invite me any longer. I will never come again. But I will stay in the condition of fair play. I will say what I want to say, what I really think.
Well, I think that's really valuable for the artists and also for the curators that can be listening this. And well, finally, do you have any advice for the students aspiring curators during this time?
I'm not sure I'm in a good position to give in advance because I'm still looking for what to do and for the ways to develop. My feeling is that we have to read a lot. We have to keep the possibility to analyze information. There are so much information around us, so many sources, so many names, so many references. And in order to be able to analyze this information, to compare, to distinguish, to divide, and to distill information, I would say I use reading as a way of keeping my mind tuned. Otherwise, we became slaves of one theory, of one economical opportunity, and we are lost. We are simply small part of a chain that goes in two directions that we can't see. I think we have to really think. We have to be philosophers, and we have to be visual philosophers. We have to be able to control the power of display, to build the context. So that is the main things for the curators. And in order to do this, talk to people, don't get obsessed, don't believe in any god, and read. Okay. Thank you very much. That has been very enlightening. Thank you for your time. Good, Laura. Was nice talking to you. Thank you. Take care. Good continuation. The same. Bye-bye. Ciao. And that was our interview during this week with Dimitri Ozerkov, the head of the Contemporary Art Department in the Hermitage and our beloved director of the Master Program. Next week, we have Artificial Intelligence and Creative Machines, a conversation with the artist Elena Niconoles. So see you next week and stay tuned.